Let's come to order. Susan, would you take the roll, please?
Thank you. The Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority, April 7th meeting. I'm going to do a roll call. Gary Bourne.
Here.
Newcomb Clark.
Here.
Russ Collins.
Here.
Lee Gunn.
Here.
Jennifer Hall. Roger Hewitt.
Here.
John Heapja. John Lowenstein. Here. John Moa.
Here.
Keith Orr.
Here.
Sandy Smith.
Here.
John Split.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Second item on the agenda, audience participation. We have 4 slots, 4 minutes apiece. We have all 4 of those slots spoken for today. The first speaker, Bob Dascola, downtown business owner.
For the record, my name is Bob Dascola. I am a owner of a business located in downtown Ann Arbor. When the state of Michigan passed the Downtown Development Authority Act in 1975, it gave municipalities a tool for improving the quality of the downtown areas. That was the start of improving downtowns in the state of Michigan. In 1982, the city of Ann Arbor created the Ann Arbor DDA, which you are today here, and renewed it in 2003 with substantial amendments to its original development plan. Over its history, the DDA has been, and I quote, a significant and influential catalyst for the revitalization and renewal of the downtown Ann Arbor. I am very happy to say, from my point of view, that this has been the best thing that's happened to the downtown since the beginning. It took the DDA a while to take over the parking system, and finally, I repeat, finally, get the parking garages cleaned up to replace the falling apart ones, safe and clean. As we learned at the International Downtown Conferences, things began to look much better for the improvements. In 2005, there was an agreement between the city and the DDA to help the city's budget deficit. The city drew down the full $10 million out of the 2005 to 2015 parking agreement in only 5 years, and now is asking for additional funds. The early draw has caused the parking system to operate in the red for several years and is not sustainable, and we lost our beat police officers on top of this. The DDA mutually beneficial ad hoc committee framed the following conclusions regarding the city's request, and I quote, "Under the parking agreement, as a vehicle to provide the city general fund with $1 million a year was a mistake and inconsistent with the DDA's standard of transparent management and operation of the parking fund. Overcharging for parking in order to generate funds for the city's general fund has placed an undue burden and hidden tax on the residents, business owners, and customers who use the downtown. The DDA is responsible to ensure the tax dollars contractually committed by the taxing authorities are being used funds the capital investments and program needed to ensure the vitality of downtown. The DDA was not created to serve as a source of funding for one taxing authority," end quote. To continue to give the DDA funds to the city general fund is not right. This was never the reason for the DDA, and I think that you, as the board members, should think long and hard about the damage that was done to the downtown over time by continuing this practice. The Ann Arbor DDA mission is to undertake publicly improvements and have the greatest impact on strengthening the downtown area and attracting new investments. And so far, the DDA has done great things to help improve the downtown and get the parking system back on track, including maintenance, repair, and replacement, which the city failed to do in the past. This takes funding, and if you give it all the way to the city general fund, there will not be anything left to keep our downtown beautiful and vibrant. Remember, the DDA is not an ATM. The Downtown Development Authority, this is the Downtown Development Authority, and it is not the city of Ann Arbor's general fund. Thank you very much for what I've had to say and listening to me.
Thank you. Our next speaker is, Tony Lupo from the Main Street Area Association.
Hi, everybody. Like he said, I'm here on behalf of the Main Street Area Association. The first thing I'm going to do today is read our position statement about the proposed public parking management system, and then about the plan, and then I also want to share some notes that we we made after we read the plan that was recently introduced. This past December, the Ann Arbor City Council defeated the Downtown Development Authority, DDA, to present a public parking management plan to City Council on their April 19, 2010 meeting. In order to take a proactive role in the process, the Main Street Area Association held informational and educational meetings, participated in the DDA focus groups, and surveyed our members. Based on the feedback received, we have identified overwhelming opposition to the extension of meter enforcement. We feel that a change to enforcement in these difficult economic times will cause great damage to downtown Ann Arbor. However, we do understand that this issue is under consideration because of city financial concerns and parking supply and demand considerations. It is very evident that our membership is more receptive to proposed enforcement changes when they are coupled with parking system enhancements, such as a free parking component and increased meter time allowances. We feel that it is critical that any changes to enforcement must include creative enhancements to the parking system, or they will be ineffective and negatively impact our downtown. Main Street Area Association members are also very concerned with how these changes will affect downtown employees. Members have identified strong support for discounted high-level structure parking, extended bus availability, later hours, and discounted evening parking passes to address employee parking issues. Because our members and their employees will be the direct recipients of questions and frustration regarding potential changes, the Main Street Area Association would like to contribute to the marketing strategy surrounding any changes. We believe that if any changes are made, how they are proposed and communicated will strongly affect how downtown visitors and customers perceive them. Recently, on Wednesday, what day was it? On Monday, the parking committee for the Board of the Main Street Area Association met to review this plan. And I can tell you that I personally read it many, many times. I highlighted a bunch of areas and I took some notes. And together we wanted to give our feedback on this plan and share that with you so that when making any revisions and when making future considerations to the plan, you can take a look at this. First, I want to thank you for your research. I feel like there are a lot of good observations here and a lot of time was spent on this. I want to reiterate, first of all, that Main Street Area Association membership are very much against extended meter times and enforcement. We've also stated the only feasible way we anticipate this comprehensive system working is with creative enhancements, if it has to be done. We reviewed the parking plan in detail and recognized the language about shifting and extending meter times is bold. It says, quote unquote, meter operation should be shifted. However, language about creative enhancements is not as aggressive. The words we've identified are promote, explore, encourage, assess. These are not options for us. We maintain that a free parking component is a crucial, non-negotiable necessity for the system to work and be well received. 8 to 9 a.m. is something that was mentioned, is not viable. The report states that shifting meter operation 1 hour later and then extending meter enforcement until 9 p.m. gives a positive message about free parking. We disagree with this. Nelson Nygaard found that 32%, and this says it in the plan, 32% of on-street spaces were available in the daytime. 0% were available after 6 p.m. The major and controversial changes that are proposed to this parking plan, the extending meter times from 6 to 9, are proposed after 6 p.m. So why would it make sense to give a free hour at 8 a.m.? That doesn't address the evening issues that we're changing. I believe I read somewhere that 50% or around 50% of all DDA parking is in the Main Street area, which affirms we will be on the front line of this communication. Our employees will be dealing with questions and handling frustration from the public. Free parking will not work from 8 to 9 a.m. One, because it does nothing for perceptions about evening parking inconveniences. We maintain that a free hour after 6 in structures must be part of the plan as a crucial aspect and will headline as a benefit that will possibly even bring more people downtown even in the light of extended meter times. We would love to endorse this plan and look forward to future revisions.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rick Warner from Parking Karma.
Just start now before the computer goes.
Get some time.
Who's got the button?
I have the button. I have not yet pressed the button.
Okay, I'm ready if you are.
Go right ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Rick Warner from Parking Karma. We're a Spark incubated company. We focus on parking guidance and reservations, and I'm here to, and again, thank you for having me here to talk about this. We have a software platform that can improve the parking experience for people coming downtown. So we have, over the last few years, been working on this software platform and have it deployed. We used it as part of the BCS Bowl parking for major event parking. We used it actually, we are actually processing all of the Bay Area rapid transit parking, so people can make daily reservations, airport or monthly parking when they go to the city as an alternative to driving downtown. American Film Institute, very satisfied customers. We're working with ACE, Impark, several other large parking companies. What it really boils down to is people go to places for events, be it a restaurant or a major activity. We try and make it more convenient. So what we've done specifically relative to the guidance is we actually last 2 weeks came in with some of our Kettering interns, and we've digitized all the off-street parking into our software platform. So this is completed already. The system allows people to actually go on the web or through a mobile device to actually pick their preferred parking. For example, if there's a restaurant or a merchant that's located on the R on that map, we would then provide to them the best probable parking for them that's off-street is what we focus on. We're teaming with Google Local Business Centers. That allows people to effectively look at a certain merchant or a business and then determine where the best parking options are, and then Google routes them back to us for that reservation possibility. So the reservation process that we work with actually is we basically customize a web interface. It could be a localized Arbor DDA website as well as our Arbor Karma branded website. By the way, I heard somebody say it's spelled improperly. That's intentional based on the marking. So, and then it produces at the bottom right a dash pass like we do at BART. Imagine in the world that bottom half could actually be local advertising, or chocolate or whatever the local business might be. Or a major event like the art fair. It allows pre-sale, that's what we focus on, and there's a segment of the population that will pay for that. And we also have the ability to drive people to underutilized locations where they may get a discount, if that's your preference. Made through a monthly reconciliation process with the owner, that being DDA. We do it with private and public entities across the country. So we're here to talk about a partnership. We've already done the lifting. We're a local Spark incubated company. We would actually like to show the rest of the world how this platform could be used for a downtown merchant and improving value-add services and communication to people that you want to draw downtown. So enhanced communications. We have also done a lot of research with our process that shows we can actually reduce circling, so there are proven environmental benefits. Some calculations show you can save 153 million pounds of CO2 emissions by reducing circling in major metropolitan areas. Only 5% of the population use the guidance process. Parking Karma, again, local Spark company. Google Local Business Centers we partner with. That's a free service by Google. Any merchant can go there, sign up, and we just finished our integration, and then the parking data will show up on their site around that merchant's location in the database. And enhanced revenue for DDA. It's a premium charge that we pull from the customer. There are some business details as far as credit card transactions and all that that still have to be covered. But we have a flexible system that can align with your growth. So this is the process, and we really would like to try. We've also found launching around a major event is a key thing. So the art fair would be a great thing to target as a point to start it with, and then you get it in place. Imagine Michigan football, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Here's some handouts that describe the service.
Our next speaker, Pat Hodges, Crispin Company.
Good afternoon. My name is Pat Hodges. I'm the Vice President with the Crispin Company and representing the construction project team that's building the Fifth Avenue underground parking structure. I just thought it would be appropriate at this time to kind of update the board as a whole on the progress that we are currently making on site. Momentum is moving forward, and there's a world of activity happening on the job site. The earth retention system is ramping back up along the north edge of the project boundary. We've completed all the earth retention along the east side as well as on the south side. That will be progressing from the east to the west on the north side over the next week and a half or so. Excavation continues on the east leg of the project site, and I don't know if any of you had the chance to actually observe that from the Division Street, but there are some cutouts in the fence that people are taking advantage of, and it's a really great vantage point to see what we're doing down there. Concrete foundations and waterproofing will start in early May, so things will be even ramping up further in the short term. Dewatering of the site, we've been working very closely with the city and the DDA to determine where the best place to dewater the underground, the site, the water that's coming off the site, and we've arrived at a decision whereby we will be taking the water back up Liberty Street to State Street as opposed to running it to the west down toward the Allen's Creek drain. So we won't be impacting any of the temporary flooding that occurs down there when they have a deluge situation. Buyout of the project is largely complete. In total, we had very favorable bid results, and as a result, we were able to return our estimate contingency in full, as well as reduce our risk contingency on the project, which resulted in a $1 million deductible change order for the DDA. So I'm very happy to report that we're in that kind of position right now where we can turn back money over to you to use to your advantage. I just wanted to speak real briefly about the integrity of the process by which we use to establish the subcontractors that we're using on the job, specifically the structural concrete work package, which was the largest package on the project. We received last month 6 bidders that ranged anywhere from $21,499,000 to $25,500,000. Based on the complexity of the project and the closeness of the second and third low bidder, we elected to bring in the 3 low bidders for post-bid reviews, which are widely used to determine their understanding of the project, their operational plan for the project, the schedule expectations, quality, and safety. At the end of that, we disqualified the low bidding contractor for nonconformance with the bidding documents relative to schedule and work plan, and also their ability to demonstrate to us their understanding of the operational execution of the work. That left the 2 remaining bidders, one of which was CCI, a subsidiary of the Crispin Company. Each had submitted full documentation, work plan, management plan, and a detailed schedule for the project. Further analysis of these 2 bids really revealed that the differential between the 2 firms was about 0.2%. We then looked at some other aspects of award recommendation, including alternates that were required for them to provide, as well as voluntary alternates, which they offered at bid. And in the end, it was very clear that CCI provided the best value for the project, and it was a team decision that, based on their final project cost, provided the best value to the city. In the end, the CCI's price was $21,438,000, which was actually less than the original low bidding contractor.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Next on our agenda, reports from city boards and commissions. Ray Detter, Downtown Area Citizens Advisory Council.
At last night's CAC meeting, Susan Polley presented a really excellent summary of the background content of DDA's public parking and transportation demand management strategies plan. And we came away from that meeting last night feeling this is a really impressive document. It's great work, maybe even amazing given the way in which it weaves together so many facets and areas of transportation-related issues. Susan made a point of emphasizing its commitment to offering the best options and choices of an integrated system that develops more comprehensive parking and transportation strategies for many areas, including downtown and near downtown residents, which of course concerns us very much. And also its creative direction, its thoroughness, data, statistical facts and analysis, and accumulated knowledge. It's all there. It didn't just happen. I mean, this is something that's been going on over a period of time, and it's really to be applauded. The CAC has been following its progress over the last several months. Some of us, of course, attended the stakeholder meetings with regard to its development. But given the complexity of many facets of transportation demand management strategies, we recognize this is still a work in progress. And I think you know that too, and I think the City Council will know that, and everyone should recognize the fact that it's not something at this particular point, which is so much a plan which has all the decisions made, but it's a report which is moving the direction of all of us moving toward the direction we want to go. And we feel that the DDA has come a long way from its creation in 1982, when it was largely looked upon as a mechanism for building parking structures that were then thought to be the key to future downtown success. At that time, there was no downtown plan, no central area plan. While the DDA had the task of building structures, city government at that time was using parking revenues for many things other than maintaining the parking we already had. City Council's wise approval of the DDA's taking over the parking system in 1992 has changed all of that. The DDA did a superb job rehabilitating and maintaining our parking system. I see Ed Shafford's back in there. He certainly can take credit for a large part of that as well. And doing what some thought impossible, making it financially self-sufficient. Who would have thought that it was possible at that particular point? Parking actually paying for itself. But parking was only a part of the picture. When the DDA was renewed in 2003, I mean, those of you around at that particular point, it's still in there, took on an additional task of recognizing that parking was only a part of a larger objective, developing a full menu of transportation options. That was a part of the DDA's commitment. This public parking and transportation demand management strategies plan is a major step forward in the DDA's commitment. It will take time, lots of work, and lots of hours, as you know. I mean, you've already put in on the project. And CAC members last night asked the question, what happens after it goes to City Council? Who will implement all its principles and strategies? It's clear to us that it has to be one agency working with all other elements of city government, AETA, the university, Main Street, State Street, Carytown, and including the CAC to really make this happen. As far as we're concerned, the CAC highly values the importance of vision, strong leadership, and strategic planning in shaping the future of downtown. And those elements the DDA has. This is a part of a larger Ann Arbor community, and this plan includes that larger community in its suggestions. The creative vision is required for implementing transportation demand management strategies plan of April 2010. It requires a focus that moves beyond the political control and power essential for city government to provide for general operations and for other specific needs. Only the DDA is uniquely equipped with the creative focus and the economic tools necessary for this strategic planning. And we expect that they're going to be listening to all of us, including the people who came in tonight and didn't object to something which, of course, as I read it, is not in the plan, but is one of those possibilities that we can decide on or not. But the CAC intends to be a part of the process, and we hope everybody is also involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Next, report on the creation of the Main Street Business Improvement Zone, Alex Harris. Or Ed Shafford.
It doesn't look like Alex Harris.
You'd probably much rather have Ellis speak.
Oh, yes, we would.
Yes,
Let me readjust
I was sitting
this.
back just saying, okay, what words can I not say? So it was really very rehearsed. First of all, I'm here to thank you, DDA, for your assistance in the process of establishing the Main Street Biz. I'm sure you all read in the .com and whatnot that the process was very, very successful, some 96% approval of the process. We went to City Council here shortly thereafter and thanked City Council, John, and whatnot for the approval process. We are full bore with this. The board has met. The executive committee has met as well. The establishment of the biz will actually take place July 1st. We thought that we might want to try to get a jump start on it, and that we would maybe think of coming to the DDA, and possibly because we would not receive our first funds until possibly sometime in August because of the taxes. We have decided against that. The executive committee decided against that because our legal counsel again reminded us we should be very cautious because we really cannot start until July 1st. So anything, we're just going to get all the groundwork and everything established. We thought possibly an advance to get some money for the landscaping, but again, we advertised it and it was stated that July 1st was the start date, so that will be the start date. Part of that process was to include a blueprint, and it is my understanding, I don't know, Susan,
Yep.
that Betsy has done that. I don't know if you have seen it,
Yep.
seen the draft portion of it. Certainly not here to discuss it at this present time, but certainly at appropriate time, whichever committee it would be more than happy to go through that process so that those are to come to follow that blueprint. We know that Keith and his organization down there in Carytown were already getting comments, even without it being established, property owners in the immediate area wanting to jump into the biz. So on behalf of the Main Street Biz Initiative Board, I thank you again for your help in doing such. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't swear, right?
Not this time.
We'll check the tape.
Jack the date.
Status of task force efforts with DDA membership. The library lot RFP advisory committee, the committee has not met since the last DDA board meeting, so I have nothing to report there. The committee to discuss a mutually beneficial financial agreement with city council. Sandy. Roger.
We have continued to have some informal meetings. I think we are making quite a bit of progress, and it's our intention to bring some ideas to the DDA committee meetings this coming month and this month to show you where we are, what our thoughts are on how we can reach a mutually beneficial agreement with the city, and let everybody on the board get their input. So I don't have much to report beyond that, but hopefully either by the committee meetings in the middle of the month or certainly by the end of the month, we'll be bringing something to the committees to discuss.
Thank you.
Okay.
Approval of minutes. Would somebody please move the approval of the March 3rd regular meeting?
So moved.
Lee, second.
Second.
John. Any corrections to those minutes?
Did you want to move the March 16th retreat at the same time?
I can do that all at the same time?
Sure, add that too.
And you? Okay, we're moving all the minutes at once. Any corrections to any of those minutes? Newcomb.
I honestly wasn't here in March, but I was disembodied voice in March. So it's kind of weird that it says absent, but then there's lots of my garbled comments in it. So I don't know if we'll change it to say the
Yeah, you should not be
or
received
whatever.
absent.
Just-
I think we had you
I didn't-
hearing disembodied voice here on speakerphone.
Okay.
When you actually joined.
All right, so there's nothing over here.
No,
Okay.
it's down there.
Sorry. Never mind.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would, interestingly, I am not showing in the comments as commenting, but I am showing as being here in the roll call. But I
You
wasn't.
were not here. All right.
March, oh, sorry, good catch.
He was at the retreat with
Are there any other corrections to the minutes? All those in favor of the amended, corrected minutes? Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Subcommittee reports. First, Operations Committee, Roger Hewitt.
2 items on the agenda. We will have a shorter Operations Committee report than we did last month. On page 15, we have the monthly parking numbers, February of this year versus February of last year. Revenues continue to increase at about almost an 8% clip. Much of that is due to parking rate increases, but also our hourly patrons are also up slightly, a little over 1%. So the usage and demand of the system continues to be strong. The revenues continue to be strong. And I should point out in those last 2 columns, we are doing this with actually almost 300 fewer spaces, or excuse me, 200 fewer spaces with the closing of the Fifth Avenue lot. So glad to answer any questions, but again, both our revenues and our usage continue, despite the economy, to be very strong and strong demand throughout the system.
Could you maybe bring us a chart at some point that shows the parking usage over the last couple of years?
Sure.
Maybe the length of the recession, because as I recall, 2009 parking was up over 2008.
Yes.
So it continues to strengthen despite the economy. That's remarkable.
Yeah, it really, I think particularly when the big crash occurred, about a year and a half ago. We certainly expected there to be some drop-off in demand, and it really leveled off, but it never really dropped off at all. So at the next board meeting, we'd be glad to give, look at, say, the last 3 or even 4 years. Sure. We've got all those numbers, and sure Joe can that'd be helpful to come up with those.
One thing that came out of committee that isn't usually reflected in this is that the length of time is going down. And we can assume or correlate any number of things to that, but it'd really be interesting to find out why, and hopefully it is reflective of the efforts of trying to get more people to choose other options than bringing their car down and leaving it here all day. So get downtown, more commuter lot options, any of the things that may be resulting in that trend, while all of the other ones are going in the opposite direction. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad trend, to bring the average length of stay down. And I wonder if it's worth trying to figure something else out about that as it reflects to some of the other initiatives that
we have periodically, there have been certain numbers that were, gee, why is this going on? And we've done some surveying. Without doing a pretty in-depth survey, it's difficult to isolate why one particular variable is changing when you've got a system that has, a huge number of variables in it. I know when parking usage was going up at a pretty substantial rate, we tried to get some idea of, well, was it short-term or long-term, and was it near campus or downtown, and it turned out it was kind of all of those. It was a sort of a broad, across the board increase. I do think as we get into the parking plan here, one of the things is going to be to monitor, put in place monitoring aspects of the parking system. Of course, we did the Nelson Nygaard report study 3 years ago now, which was a major undertaking. We can't financially do something that comprehensive on a regular basis, but I think we would like to put in some more effective monitoring.
My guess is there's a lot of coders in this city that, given an opportunity to get their hands on some of this data, they would love to play around and see what it says, and I bet you it'd be a lot cheaper than paying someone to do it.
Certainly. But we have to be a little careful too that because of the huge number of variables, it's very easy to reach conclusions based on a few of those variables.
That's the nice thing about open source.
Okay. Any other questions about the monthly parking?
I was wondering, I'm kind of intrigued by Parking Karma, if you might want to schedule them to come talk to operations about what it is they can offer.
I think we'd certainly like to look into what they're doing and whether that could be integrated into what the DDA parking system does. So put that on the agenda for the next committee meeting. Second item, and last, is a resolution to endorse the DDA Parking and Transportation Management Plan on page 16. And I would like to move this resolution.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Yeah. You all have a copy of the draft copy of DDA parking plan. Everyone, I think, knows on the board this was a request from City Council in the December meeting, second meeting in December, that by the second meeting in April, the DDA would come up, present to City Council a comprehensive parking plan on how the DDA views the whole parking system moving forward in the future. I want to compliment staff on an enormous amount of work they have done in an extremely short period of time. This report embodies really about 18 years of experience in running the system, incorporates a lot of the Nelson Nygaard aspects, plus a lot of things that we've just learned along the way. There was a significant amount of public process involved in a very short period of time. I know staff has been working long hours getting this together. This is still the draft, although we are getting very close to being finished on it. I know this was reviewed in detail at committee meetings last week, I believe. And by my count, there were at least 9 board members there going through this. So I think virtually everybody on the board has not only has read the plan and has given input on it. We still, the next committee meeting, Partnerships Committee, in the middle of the month, we want to do one final edit before it goes to City Council. but it is an impressive plan. It is not just a parking plan, it is a parking and transportation management plan. Very comprehensive. It's unfortunate that no matter how broad you try to view things, that certain elements are always going to catch everybody's attention, and certainly there will be some controversial recommendations in here. One of the major things that the Nelson Nygaard report pointed out was that we manage the daytime economy quite well. As far as turnover, trying to get the ideal 85% usage numbers throughout the system. And not surprisingly, because parking systems were developed when there was primarily daytime business downtown and not much nighttime business. As across the country, and particularly in Ann Arbor, in the last 20 to 30 years, there's been a dramatic switch in the nighttime economy from things pretty much closing down at night to being one of the most active times of the day. We needed to try to bring our parking management system to address how you manage that nighttime economy and the parking aspects and transportation aspects of that nighttime economy. There are a lot of recommendations in here. One of them is for extended meter enforcement. Another aspect is geographically setting meter prices. We have some recommendations, and I emphasize these are recommendations, not proposals to change policy, but recommendations to council. But we are looking at having 3 meter rates based on geography. So the highest demand meters are the most expensive, and the lowest demand meters are very inexpensive, cheapest place to park. We are looking at doing on top, if we can figure out technologically how to do it, how to do low-cost employee parking on the top floors of some of the, particularly 4th and Williams structure and Ann Ashley structure, trying to address the needs of employees who don't make a lot of money, while making the most desirable parking the most expensive parking. So I want to thank staff. I want to thank the board for all their input. We'll give one more final edit to it, as well as a lengthy appendices in the back. And assuming the board endorses it today, we'll go ahead and present it to City Council on the 19th. I'll be open for questions.
Discussion.
Although I think it's discussion.
Yeah, we have a resolution on the floor.
Yes, I did. It's been moved to second.
Further discussion, Newcomb.
I agree that this is great work. It was hard work. It was under the gun. I think Tony mentioned in his comments that vocabulary became very potentially telling on certain things. I would say that a lot of the words like explore and adjust and any of these potential hedges shouldn't be necessarily viewed as qualitatively or quantitatively different than things that were perhaps worded more strongly. These are all just suggestions, and what still remains, for me at least, to fully understand this report, although I am happy to move forward with it today, is baseline projections of revenue implications. I still don't know, or at least it hasn't been made clear enough to me, and I know that there's so much the unknown, what, when we start pulling these levers, will actually happen. And I think for something this comprehensive, given the communication plans, that isn't only what we need to do, but what all the businesses and the users need to understand for themselves and communicate to their tenants, employees, staff, all those kinds of things. I think we owe it to ourselves to put a little time into doing some baseline analysis of the revenue implications. Are we going to end up losing money? Are we going to end up flush with net revenue? Will it be a wash? And what do those implications mean as it means to options that may make this more palatable to people as some of the more harsh demand management or perceived harsh demand management options are put in? We don't necessarily know how we can balance sticks with carrots yet without numbers, and I'm still reluctant to say, well, let's wait and see what happens, because it's very easy, it's easier for us to adjust our communication strategy, but once things start happening, there's a lot more players that are actually going to be in this game. And so I hope that in the next couple of weeks we can start looking at the spreadsheets a little bit on what may happen with some of these things.
John?
I think as we looked at it at the Transportation Committee, what to me was very interesting was that we've gone from a situation, as Roger alluded to years ago, a fairly static parking daytime situation, fairly easy to analyze. Now it's become a much more dynamic situation when you combine the parking with all the other forms of transportation. When you look at nighttime use, you look at downtown residents, you look at, there's a huge amount of dynamic activity with the forms of transportation people can use and choices they have. So what to me is exciting about this is that it's in itself a dynamic plan. You know, it's the notion that it isn't set in stone that this is what, you know, these things are how things are going to play out for the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever. The essence of the whole thing are choices and responding to a dynamic situation. So I think for those who aren't familiar yet with the plan, it's important to understand that it's really responding to a new set of circumstances and something that's a tool moving forward. And I think that's an important piece for people to understand.
I'd like to especially thank John Rowan and Roger Hewitt for chairing the Operations Transportation Committee. Combined meetings, we really, really worked very, very hard on pulling this together. I think it's a tour de force. I am really delighted with it. Of course, there are things that are not knowable at this point, but unless we try them, we're not going to find out. And I don't know that you can do a formula ahead of time because, as John said, everything is so dynamic. It's a moving target. So I would urge to pass this resolution, work on it, and see how we do. I think we'll do fine.
Keith?
Also, kudos to the staff for this under the gun, as Newcomb said, job. I also agree with Newcomb about the modeling. I think that this can help us in that planning to see what we're going to do. In conjunction with that, one of the interesting statements that got moved around in this draft, so I'm not sure exactly where it is, but the reference that the DDA has either implemented or tested nearly everything in the Nelson-Nygaard study. So I think we have a history of saying, oh, we don't just take plans and toss them aside. I think that there's a real history here. And one of the reasons for words like explore in it is because part of that history is we recognize not everything is going to work. And so we do things by doing pilot projects. And when pilot projects work, we move them onto a larger stage. And I think the DDA's history and the staff's history suggests that the same thing will happen with this. So I do urge passing of the plan today.
Further discussion. Sandy?
I also would like to thank staff for a heroic effort while undertaking a $49 million parking structure. We just got $1 million back. And major streetscapes on 5th and Division. So there's a lot of things going on right now, and to have this this depth of this report is phenomenal. I've done a little bit of unofficial surveying of people that work nighttime downtown and found that there's an awful lot of people that really don't know, the casual visitor doesn't know that meters stop at 6 p.m., that there continues to be quarters put in there. And so I'm not sure that it's going to be as dramatic of a difference, either financially, because we don't know when those last meters were, when they're fed. We don't know necessarily, unless we're using the e-park system, when they were fed. But people do continue to assume that there's a parking meter there. They need to put the money in. So it'll be an interesting change. I'm not sure that it's going to be a dramatic business changing issue, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
John?
Well, we're gonna see if we can't get a round of applause at City Council for this work, because it's excellent, and we really appreciate you, the speed with which it was put together. But it doesn't look like a document that was done under the gun. It looks like a document that people really sat back and spent a lot of time on, which I'm sure you did, a lot of hours. And so kudos to everybody who worked on it. Obviously, the extended hours are going to be the part that brings some controversy to it, and I'm interested in exploring that further because I'm still having a little trouble when I hear from folks in the business community who have concerns about it, but yet we all acknowledge that all the spaces are full, and it seems as if some action to spur a little more turnover would be good for business. So I'm going to be trying to explore that with folks downtown and folks here, of course, to get a better understanding of that. But the plan overall just seems like it was very well put together, and I think it should be obvious to everybody that not everything in here, the action may not be taken on everything in here, and probably that it will continue to evolve, but great work.
Anyone else? I will just also want to thank staff for all of the hard work that was put in on this. And again, given everything else that's going on, I'm very happy that we got this done, and the quality of the work is amazing.
Could I ask for folks
All those in favor of adopting the resolution? Aye.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted.
I would follow up, hope that we would have perhaps a short time on the City Council meeting on the 19th to present the plan. And because of the complexity and the interrelatedness and dynamic nature of the plan, if it's at some time possible to schedule a work session with Council, I think that would be useful as Council starts to make decisions on what part of the parking policy is put in place. So, ask that of our council members here. So hopefully we can get some broad exposure to it and in-depth exposure to the plan. And that's my Operations Committee report. Next committee meeting is Wednesday, April 28th at 10:30 a.m.
Thank you, Roger. Next up is Partnerships Committee. Sandy Smith and Russ Collins co-chairs.
So I think we mostly talked about the comprehensive parking plan.
Yes.
That was swallowed on most of the committee. We did have a brief update on the energy saving grant program, which just keeps plugging along, doing good things, and a little bit of the DDA retreat planning, but we all attended and passed the test and it's done. So there you go. Next meeting? Did you have something else to say?
Our next meeting is Wednesday, April 14th at 9 a.m.
Thank you very much.
And we will be even more
And that's a record, I'm sure. Next, Transportation Committee, John Nowak.
Thanks, John. Well, we also spent most of our time looking at the parking plan. But I think the other thing that's significant to talk about a little bit today is Get Downtown. It's that time of year with the commuter challenge coming up. So there'll be, just to remind everyone, there'll be a long series of events and all the participation that we can get from the board and any other folks in the community would be very exciting to participate in the commuter challenge happening in May. The other thing we talked about, or Nancy Short came and talked to us about, were the Go Passes. And this may relate back to Roger Newcomb's conversations about the length of time in spaces and so forth. The Go Passes continue to increase in their use. Currently 457 downtown businesses and organizations, 6,231 Go Passes are out there, an increase over the last year. And the number of ATA rides continue to increase. So, all signs are that it's a thriving program, and that may speak to some of our parking use questions. The other thing that's interesting is that there's going to be a change this fall to having swipeable Go Passes, which will have the effect of allowing us to collect more data. So one of the things that was talked about was that idea of what data to collect. So that's something that will be an ongoing conversation, understand who's using them and how often and hours and all those good things. again, part of this sort of comprehensive way of looking at how transportation and parking interrelate. The other piece to it is that with it being swipeable, it gives that opportunity to understand how employees are using them for, whether it's for employers to understand who's using them or for us, and a tool whether to turn them on, turn them off, those sorts of things. So it gives good flexibility for that. So one thing that I would suggest to folks, if they have particular questions of data to be collected, it would be a good thing to feed that back through Susan, probably the best person, give any comments of what information would be helpful. I think that's all I have to report. Our next committee meeting is Wednesday, April 28th at 9 a.m.
Thank you, John. Capital Improvements Committee. I have, I guess, very little to add. We essentially got a report from Pat on the progress with the underground parking structure. I would like to say that yesterday we had a brief little celebration lunch with representatives from DTE, ATT, and Comcast. Basically, all the utilities are now out of the way. They still have some details to clean up, but I would like to thank them and all their contractors for getting that work done in a timely fashion. We had a very short amount of time to get that work done, and they did it. So again, I would like to thank them. On the construction of 5th and Division, they are installing light poles over on Division right now, and the work on 5th Avenue will start in the next week or two. I believe that we're going to start that work in this area, the blocks between Huron and Washington. So a lot of activity is going to be going out there very soon. And that is all that I have. Our next committee meeting is next Wednesday, April 14th at 11 a.m. Sandy.
Just a question. With working with the utilities on both the streets and the parking structure, and something like a Google Fiber coming in, what sort of plans are, when you're laying these new roads, what sort of plans are to kind of future-proof infrastructure?
Is Adrian here? I don't know if there is extra conduit being put in for those sorts of things or not. But Adrian or Ola can answer that question.
Yeah, we typically add an extra conduit for new installations that may come about. We have done this through all of the alleys that you have repaired and replaced in the last several years. New additions to fiber are typically processed and permitted through the city of Ann Arbor, so the DDA does not have much to say about where and how, because there is a legal agreement that utility companies negotiate with the city. But regarding installation, whenever we have gone around the footprint of the parking garage, we have installed additional conduits just for future growth and to minimize future disruption to sidewalks and road cross sections. We have done that.
Great, so it's all in place. So if something like that did come through, you wouldn't have to go back and tear out.
That's correct.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's a fairly small investment that makes sense for doing those things. Next on our agenda, we have another resolution which is not coming out of any committee. And is it included in the board packet, or do we get it individually?
Page 20.
Okay, page 20 of the board packet. Would somebody please, or would somebody like to move this resolution? Moved by Keith, second?
Second.
Seconded by Russ. Discussion. Keith?
Well, this came up with one of those unintended consequences of council tabling the revisions to the sign ordinance. Basically means that sandwich signs are, at this point, illegal. And it's our view that sandwich boards are actually part of a vibrant downtown. And certainly the work that the committee, the ordinance, sign ordinance committee did, identified some important regulations on that, that largely dealing with the disability community to make sure that these weren't placed in places that would present a danger to them. But other than that, we feel like they're part of a vibrant streetscape, and this is what we're trying to encourage downtown. So we wanted to do something to encourage City Council to look at the resolution again.
Speaking from a commercial real estate standpoint, sandwich signs are critical for non-first floor retail and businesses. And part of our mission is to promote increased private investment in the downtown and maximizing the ability for some of our lower level and second and third floor businesses to get that added needed amount of exposure on the street. I think this is lockstep with that goal, taking into account all the ADA considerations and not. I didn't like seeing an email last night about the first person that got fined. Business doesn't need it right now, so that's my 2 cents on it.
Actually, I think they received a warning.
Oh,
It was a warning.
No one likes a warning.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution is adopted. Are there any other DDA business matters? Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the board for 4 minutes?
John, I have a question.
Step up to the podium.
There was a comment about the parking for the bicycles. I'm all in favor of it. But where it was placed last year, I wonder if that has been resolved, of where the multiple stands are going to be placed so it wouldn't be an impediment to the handicap type of parking.
Susan, would you like to step up and...
Absolutely. So as many of you know, last year was a pilot, speaking of pilot programs, we piloted the idea of temporarily using street surface for bike parking. Overwhelmingly, it seemed to be a really good idea. One of the areas, though, where we rubbed up against and now need to figure something out is the space directly in front of People's Food Co-op is the space that's next to an accessible parking space. And the user of that space felt that they couldn't get into the back of their vehicle with a lift. So what we're exploring is to shift some of that parking a little bit to the north to gain a little bit more space, especially for that parking space. Given that concern, in large answer, no, we don't know exactly where the racks are going to go again. We have heard requests from the businesses that had them last year, which includes People's Food Co-op, Bivouac, and others. And this year is also a year of exploration. Maybe there'll be more. It's a very small investment and a very nice way to accommodate a variety of uses. So it was very helpful to hear about the concern, and I think we found a good solution on this one instance. But it continues to be a pilot program. So if we find other instances where we need to make some modifications, we'll be doing it.
And there is a place on our website to make suggestions as to where we might put it.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Staff have added to our website a bike rack request form. If we get a significant number, it may indicate an in-street rack is a good idea. If it's a single space, we might just be able to accommodate with a rack. But a2dda.org and go to the parking and transportation section. You'll see where you can let us know if you need bike parking.
Susan, do you know when the street racks are going to be going out?
Sometime this month. This month being April, the goal is to get it out while the weather's now getting warm. So that's the space in front of the co-op. We need to make adjustments before we'll do it there, but some of the other racks might get a little earlier.
Okay, I've been asked that question.
They're great. This is why you pilot things. You find out, and I think this is overwhelmingly a really good solution in a situation like ours where we all want to be on the sidewalk at the same time. So we will get them out as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Okay, if I could just comment on that, that's the one that we've heard complaints about. Yep. But everything else, it seems, all the other spaces seem to be very well accepted, and if we can resolve that issue, I think it's just another example of how the DDA wants to work with folks and get things like that working. It's very hard to put a number on, although there's some work going on that may reveal that a little later, but it's apparent that anecdotally that cycling is really increasing pretty fast as the city has added more bike lanes. And when we get 5th and Division done, I think you're going to see even more need for this type of thing. And one of the things it does is it carries over a little bit of the issue of when you talk about sandwich signboards, because bicycles that don't have a place to park often get attached to whatever is out there and can infringe a wheel or something into that right of way that we're trying to keep open. So I see this as a very positive program. And if we can afford to give up a parking space here and there as cycling continues to increase, it's a very positive thing.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the board for 4 minutes?
Those prizes.
Or less.
Yeah, this is all for you. Good afternoon. This is Nancy from the Get Downtown program, and I just wanted to emphasize what John said about the Commuter Challenge, which is coming up in May, and I brought you all kinds of materials as well as these fabulous buttons so that you can show your pride that you bike or bus or walk or carpool to work. So I'll hand this over. And there are 4 very important reasons to participate in the Commuter Challenge. They are fun, free ice cream, prizes, and fun. And that is because during the month of May, if you sign up for the Commuter Challenge and you log just one commute, so that's trying to bike, bus, carpool, telecommute, moped, and motorcycle one time during May, you get a free ice cream coupon to the Washington Dairy. There are also all kinds of daily prize drawings that we're going to be doing, and we have all sorts of great events. Some of the ones that we have are on May 3rd, we're going to have a Green Commute Day. And that's a day where anybody can wear green to show their support for sustainable commuting in Ann Arbor. And we're also going to have a Walk to Work Day, which is on May 12th, and that's going to end at Liberty Plaza. That'll be in the morning. And on May 21st is our Bike to Work Day, and that's always a fabulous celebration. The mayor's going to be there. We'll have the Ann Arbor Bike Choir. And immediately following Bike to Work Day, which is going to be at the Farmers Market, we're going to do our first ever Bike Commuting Expo, and we've invited businesses and bike shops throughout Ann Arbor to come down and provide information so that people can learn more about how to bike to work and just generally have a fun atmosphere. And we always like to emphasize that the downtown is a great place to try all your different commuting options because it's easy and because it's so nice to be able to know that when it's a beautiful day outside, you know how to get to work in other ways rather than driving your car. But we also want to emphasize that we are talking about more options. We're not trying to give anybody or take anything away from anybody. We're actually adding to what we have downtown, and that's what's lovely about downtown is all of our options. So all the information about the Commuter Challenge is on our website, getdowntown.org. And I also just wanted to remind everybody that tonight we're going to have our 10th anniversary reception. The Get Downtown program is celebrating 10 years. And we're going to have a reception starting at 4:30 at the Michigan Theater Screening Room. And we have about 65 people RSVP'd, but if you want to come, just come on by. We're going to have some a little bit of refreshments from Saba's State Street Cafe. Susan Pillay is going to be there, and she's going to talk a little bit about the past of Get Downtown and transportation. And then I'm going to look towards the future and talk a little bit about the future of transportation downtown. I actually did a little survey, and so we have some information about what some of you think about what the future of transportation downtown should be. And we also are looking at what Get Downtown should accomplish in the next 10 years. And then we're going to be giving awards out. We have over 100 businesses that have consistently purchased Go Passes from us for the last 10 years. And so we're going to be giving out some certificates of appreciation to those businesses to make sure that they understand how important they are to contributing to the vitality of downtown, because I think that's a lot of what we all see as part of the DDA's mission and also Get Downtown's mission is having these options so that we can have a wonderful, walkable, bikeable, and drivable downtown. So I just wanted to thank all you for your support in promoting the challenge, and I hope that all of you sign up and participate, and thank you for some of the businesses here that already have.
Thank you. Mr. Allen.
Good afternoon, Peter Allen. I enjoyed reading your minutes of the retreat, and I'm troubled by what's happened with the East-West Rail and the connectivity of Ann Arbor to Ypsilanti and Dearborn and Detroit. And I wonder if there's a role for the DDA to step up and be one of the key champions, one of the key leaders, because I think the greatest beneficiaries of that commuter idea, which has now been postponed indefinitely as best as I can find out, is the city of Ann Arbor, the city of Ypsilanti, the city of Detroit. I think it touches a lot of hot buttons for the kinds of demographic diversity that I read as I read your retreat minutes. And I think it needs someone to stand up and shout that it has to get done. Where are the problems? How do we deal with the problems? I also think the university is one of the biggest losers if that doesn't actually implement sometime soon. So I wish you that somebody would take a responsible leadership role with that issue and try to make something happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the board?
Hi, my name is David Olson. I'm Vice President of Granger Construction, and I'm here to talk briefly about integrity. As a low bidder of the concrete package on your parking ramp, I take exception to Mr. Podges' comments about, I guess, our inexperience or lack of knowledge for that project. We've got a proven record of accomplishment for delivering these types of projects, and I'm here more just to make a simple public statement about the flawed process. And whether it's your process or their selection process, and make no mistake, this isn't about sour grapes. This is about making a public statement about doing the right thing. We've worked with these gentlemen for a long time. It's in the same area. We play nice in the sandbox. It's not about the gentleman. It's about a decision that the company made. And whether it's their selection process or yours, you guys are complicit, and I just think it's important to get this out in the public. We talk about money going back and forth. You guys are excited about the $1 million that you get. If you go through the contract, that's money that's yours anyways. It's due to be given back to you. The process and how they made the selection of jumping from the low bidder, which we won, to over the second bidder to themselves is kind of a shrewdly crafted shell game. I'm here to deliver a letter from our CEO, Glenn Granger, which lays out the facts. We don't expect to get this project, but we want to do the right thing. And doing the right thing is tough. It's not easy being here today. It's not about sour grapes. I was a little disarmed when we walked in and you said, I know you're here to whine about the project. We're not here to whine. We're here to get the facts on the record and to do the right thing. It's not easy, but doing the right thing seldom is. So with that, here's a letter that I'd like to deliver to you. You can read it. Certainly, if you have any questions, our contact information is there. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Hi, I'm Steve Fredrickson, President and COO of the Chrisman Company. I just want to be clear, I'm not sure what that letter says, but there's been a lot of discussion that's occurred over the past number of weeks relative to the award of the concrete package. And a lot of the discussion has been based on assumptions and conjecture and not on the facts. And so I wanted to just be really clear, real brief on what the facts are. The facts are that in the bid documents, we described the complexity of this project. It's underground, it's cast in place concrete. You all know how hard this project is and the level of experience that's required to accomplish a feat such as that. So we were very clear in the documents about how we were going to award the project and the criteria by which we would award the project. Experience, detailed work plan, detailed schedule. Price was part of it, but it says throughout the bid documents and in the pre-bid meeting that we had with all the bidders that it was not based exclusively on price, because we needed to know that we had a partner that was capable, qualified, and knew the job and put us in a position to be able to succeed as a partnership. So the fact is we were clear on the award criteria. Another fact is that the Granger Company was disqualified very early in the process unanimously by everybody at the post bid, including the architect, the engineer, the Chrisman Company, your project management consultant. Those are the facts. They didn't comply with the requirements of the project. They did not display an understanding of the project to the level of comfort that we felt was necessary to be able to serve you and serve the project. Facts. Their project manager had no underground parking deck experience. the full-time on-site project manager. So we were very clear on what was going to be, the project was going to be awarded based on. They did not meet that. So essentially what they've been asking for is a redo of the process, and we can't do that. It's not fair to the other bidders. If we give one bidder a redo, why wouldn't we give the other bidders a redo based on what they submitted for a price? It's unfair to the process. We have challenged the integrity of the process with our partners, with the architect, the engineer, your project manager, with the DDA, and everybody has established hands down that the integrity of the process was maintained throughout the entire process. So we're confident in that. We've made those details available, and if you look at the details, it's very clear. So I just encourage you to look at the facts and take all the emotion out of it, and look at the facts and the people that are best qualified to do the job. We're in a great position to be giving that money back at this point, and moving forward with the project. Everybody's excited to do it. We got a great team, and we're out there getting after it, as you can see. Thank you.
Yes.
If I could comment on Peter Allen's statement. There's a whole lot going on with the East-West Rail, and while we're not in doubt that the project is going to take place, I just wanted to explain what the setback was. The setback was that SEMCOG, in their work in trying to pull this together, was unable to get the federal money to put in some sidings over in the Detroit area. And the sidings are necessary for the full-blown commuter service so that the trains can pass each other. The interesting thing is that the portion of the railroad that's probably most important to us here in Ann Arbor is between Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti and Ann Arbor and Metropolitan Airport. Those areas are not constrained by the siding problem to nearly the extent that you have over in the Detroit area. So when that siding issue is worked out, I would expect the project to be back on full bore. And there's a lot of hope for that. I think SEMCOG is being a little cautious because they've held out a start date for a while. They're going to disappoint everybody with this. They've had to pull back. A lot of the people, the entities, the governmental entities, are very frustrated with the county included, the city included, with SEMCOG's management of this project. But the purchase of the railroad stock, of the railroad cars, engines, that's all going forward. This is all continuing to move forward. We are in discussions, quite frankly, with the city of Dearborn about rail service between Dearborn Metro Airport, Ypsilanti, and Ann Arbor. The major part of the problem occurs beyond there, although there's some siding issues going in Dearborn. So getting the Detroit connected on the other end, maybe it'll need to be done in stages if the siding money is unavailable. But this is a very good route. The track is in quite good shape. There's absolutely no reason, and arrangements have been made with Norfolk Southern as well. There's no reason that this couldn't start. This is a temporary setback. We view the potential for this rail as being especially strong, and we are out there going after it. And I just want to put forward a concept that I think a lot of us haven't recognized about this. As we look at the rail project, transit-oriented development is sweeping the nation right now, and we're seeing all sorts of investment in people buying homes, moving into areas around where transit connects. If you want to think on a regional basis, if you have a conduit for the 4,000 people I'm told that have an Ypsilanti zip code who work at the medical complex, you would most likely see a housing boom in downtown Ypsilanti if people could be a 5, 10, 15-minute walk from that station. It would connect them directly with their work at 12 minutes away at the U of M hospital, maybe 10 minutes. It's a straight shot. You would also begin to see people wanting to be in the area, and I think about the eventual outcomes that we're going to see in Broadway Village, which is a walk from that rail station, and it's not a very long walk, to the Fuller Transit Station. So you begin to see a regional effect that is only going to happen when there's rail in place. And the same thing would occur up and down that line. So we are still gung-ho. Being leaders in this, we cannot drag other governmental entities along quite as fast as we'd like to move. But again, already in discussions of how we make the rail work, even if it is a shortened version. As Roger and I have talked, in the end, if we just had rail, and there are cars that can do this that went between Ypsilanti and Ann Arbor, that would be a huge boon to both communities. So just a reassurance perhaps that, that this is moving forward, and I've received some communications from SEMCOG. They see this as a temporary setback, and the next round of funding hopefully will contain that money. As you know or may not know, the Dearborn got $30 million to build a new station to be part of this line. So there's a commitment in DC to see this happen, and there's a commitment locally to see it happen. It's just a matter of getting some of these things lined up.
Great. Is there any other audience who would like to address the board?
Real quick, Dennis Perry with Granger Construction. I really don't want to belabor this. Again, Steve mentioned getting the facts out there, and I agree with that. I encourage you to look into the facts. He mentioned not being qualified, and I can say that personally, I've been involved in 2 different park grant projects with Granger, and we've done a dozen throughout the state and have had huge success. And you guys know that because we were shortlisted to do the entire project. And he also said that we weren't compliant with the bid documents, and I can say, well, actually, you can take a look at the post-bid interview, and we're compliant. There's yeses all the way down, and it was kind of a shock to us to find out weeks later that they were going to bypass us. Glad to hear you're saving money. I mean, that's in this economy, that's a big deal, and I think you could be saving more. And I think there were some irregularities in the bid process that maybe you could have capitalized on some additional savings. It's an extremely short bid period. I think maybe that was a way of ensuring that Christmas could get to work. Voluntary alternates were prohibited, and I've never seen that in a set of bid documents. And to me, why wouldn't you want to encourage some ingenuity and get some cost savings there? In fact, we've got $300,000 worth of savings to the job that we couldn't submit on, and I'd be willing to, and happy to share that with you too, to help the project maybe save some more money. Aside from that, I don't expect anything to change. Again, we just want to encourage the facts to be said. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I just want to state at this point that as chair of the Capital Improvements Committee and as chair of this board, I am satisfied with the integrity of the process that went on. And I think that the committee all agrees that the process was fair. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Seeing no one, I'll move. Adjournment? Second, all in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. I finally